Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a shift in the economy that is, honestly, absolutely profound. For the last few years, we've gotten super comfortable with AI as a conversational assistant. A really smart chatbot that answers our questions. But what happens when the AI stops just telling you how to do something and actually starts doing the work for you? We are looking at a massive transformation in knowledge work right now, moving from AI that merely answers to AI that executes. Okay, let's jump right into it. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We're going to look at the shift to autonomous agents, the massive advantage of that autonomy, how it completely slashes time and cost, the expansion of our actual work scope, and finally, what the future of knowledge work looks like. And all of this is drawn straight from a groundbreaking 2026 study by Harvard University and Perplexity.
All right, part one, the shift to autonomous agents, moving from a simple chatbot to a full-blown execution engine. To get us grounded as we look at the 2026 landscape, I want you to really think about this one paradigm-shifting question. What happens when AI stops just answering your questions and actually starts doing the work? It's a huge mental pivot, right? Because it changes our fundamental relationship with technology. It forces us to ask, if the machine is doing the executing, what exactly are we supposed to be doing?
This progression perfectly captures where we've been and where we are now. Think back to 2022, down in that bottom left corner. We had the answer engine, like the original Perplexity Search. Low autonomy, low context. You ask a thing, you get an answer. Fast forward to 2025, we got browser agents that could do a few basic clicks on a web page. But now, look up at the top right. That is the Perplexity Computer released in 2026. This is a general agent orchestrator. We're talking high autonomy, deep context integration. It's operating across your entire digital environment, over long stretches of time, completely without you holding its hand.
So, let's nail down exactly what we mean by autonomous agent here. The researchers define it as an end-to-end work execution engine that connects across your external tools to return a completed artifact with minimal human involvement. We aren't just talking about it spitting out a snippet of code or a nice little email draft anymore. It is literally navigating the browser, writing the files, running the terminal commands, and handing you the finished product.
You can see the stark contrast here in how we work. In the old conversational mode, let's face it, the human is the bottleneck. You plan the task, ask the AI a question, read what it says, and then you still have to go manually execute the work. But jump over to agent mode, and the whole dynamic flips. You just delegate the objective. The AI handles the planning and the execution, then you simply step back in at the end to verify the work. We are officially transitioning from being manual executors of tasks to becoming managers.
Which brings us to part two, the autonomy advantage. Basically, letting the machine take the wheel.
To see how this plays out in the real world, the researchers analyzed 10,000 matched user sessions. They found instances where users gave the exact same initial query to standard search and to the autonomous computer agent. The most crucial point to anchor on here is this massive multiplier, 48x. On those exact same tasks, the Perplexity Computer agent does 48 times more machine work per session than standard search. To put that in perspective, standard search does about 33 seconds of back-end processing. The computer agent, it runs for an average of 26 minutes of pure autonomous planning and execution per session. When you visualize the gap between these two ways of working, it is staggering. Over on the left, you see standard search, tightly clustered between 10 and 30 seconds. It's a quick hit. But look at that wide distribution spreading way out to the right for the computer agent. It's working completely on its own for minutes, sometimes well over an hour. The AI is literally doing the heavy lifting, stepping through massive, complex workflows in the background while you are completely freed up to do something else.
Now, let's get into part three, slashing time and cost, and shifting from execution to oversight.
So what does this massive autonomy advantage actually mean for your wallet, your daily schedule, or a company's bottom line? Well, the researchers ran the numbers, and they are jaw-dropping. By shifting human effort from manual execution to just oversight, using an agent slashes estimated task completion costs by an astonishing 94%. At the same time, the total time you spend required to get the task done drops by 87%. The era of humans doing expensive, time-consuming, manual digital labor is practically over. Breaking this down by industry is super fascinating. Look at a high-wage domain like programming. A human equipped with standard search takes almost 10 hours, like 596 minutes, to manually execute a coding task. But hand that to the computer agent, it drops to just 48 minutes of human oversight. And financially, for that exact same programming task, the cost plummets from $576 of human labor down to just $23. It doesn't matter if it's business, technology, finance, or healthcare. Across the board, human manual execution is collapsing into just minutes of managerial oversight.
This specific finding really hits the nail on the head. The researchers did a break-even analysis, and they found that for a human to compete financially with an autonomous agent, they would need to run all the commands, edit all the files, and navigate all the web applications in under 20 minutes. Let's be real, that is physically impossible. It absolutely proves that human manual execution just cannot compete on cost anymore. The future undeniably belongs to those who delegate.
Moving on to Part 4, expanding the scope of work. This is where we break down traditional occupational boundaries.
Because time and cost are collapsing, it entirely rewrites the kind of work we can take on. Our scope is exploding. When researchers looked at where users route tasks outside their own primary occupation, the difference was wild. With standard search, people basically just funneled their out-of-domain questions into simple text support. But with the computer agent, the workflow spread out like a giant web across totally distinct disciplines. Management folks are suddenly delegating deep, complex work into public service, finance, and design. The AI agent is basically acting as a universal translator for cross-disciplinary work.
And this brings us to a really radical new reality. A marketing manager can now do a software engineer's job, because these agents automate the generative tasks that usually require years of specialized expertise. Stuff like writing complex code, building financial models, or designing websites. Professionals can easily branch into domains way outside their core competency. In fact, the data shows an average 9 percentage point jump in users tackling work outside their primary occupations when they use these agents. But we aren't just expanding horizontally into new fields. The study shows we're also expanding vertically, tackling work that demands much higher-order cognition. When users switch to autonomous agents, their tasks shift dramatically. 76% of agent queries involve higher-order thinking, like analyzing, evaluating, and creating, compared to just 55% with standard search. These tasks require broader competencies, drawing on multiple different knowledge domains at once, and they bundle dozens of subtasks into one massive workflow. The agent simply unlocks entirely new possibilities that were honestly just too complex or tedious for one person to ever try before. Finally, Part 5, the future of knowledge work. Spoiler alert, you are the orchestrator.
Bringing all of this rich data together, the overwhelming evidence from this Harvard and Perplexity study points to the dawn of an agentic economy. Workflows are radically accelerated by a factor of nearly 50x in machine execution. And surprisingly, execution quality actually goes up. The data shows a 55% drop in user dissatisfaction simply because the agent stubbornly persists until the artifact is actually completely done. Financial and time costs drop by over 90%, and those painful coordination costs between different disciplines, they completely vanish. Adopting autonomous agents is effectively a massive promotion. It's turning everyday workers into cross-disciplinary orchestrators who manage entire armies of AI.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If the manual execution of knowledge work is fundamentally solved, if the typing, the formatting, the coding, and the clicking are now the domain of the machine, what is your true value? As AI absorbs tasks across all these occupational boundaries, what new, complex, and highly creative work are you going to choose to orchestrate? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to really think deeply about your evolving role in this incredible new landscape.